So how we do this thing?
We just asked you some questions.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Jump around here.
All right.
Nate, what was your reaction when you found out Gino was leaving? And I mean, when you came here originally, was the hope at some point to jump into position coach again?
Yeah, I mean, I was if Coach Fick had a job for me, I was going to take it regardless of what the role was because I believe in how he runs a program and everything he's done. Gino's a really close friend of mine, so I was really excited to continue working with him. But obviously very excited for him, and selfishly, I was really excited for the opportunity here to work with the tight ends here in Wisconsin.
Not too long ago, you made the jump from coaching D3 to coaching a Group of 5 team. It seems like a kind of big transition. Just what was that like for you?
I'll be honest with you. It's not as big a transition as I think people think. Division III football, I think maybe some people think is like Pee Wee football. It's not. There's a lot of really good players. There's a lot of dedicated guys that are paying money to go play. And more than anything, I think what helped me being effective grad assistant, which is when I initially made the jump, and then obviously into a position coach, was you wear a lot more hats in Division III. You're doing. I was recruiting coordinator. I was the academic guy. You're doing janitorial duty right before official visits. You do a lot of things, which helps you learn on the move. It helps you learn on the fly, and that's really what this job is. If there's a task to be done, you don't look around for who's going to do it. You just do it and get the job done. So, to me, my experience at Center College, I think has benefited me more than anything I've done professionally in my career up to this point.
For you in particular, just what led you to Wisconsin? What were the conversations like that eventually first got you here?
Yeah, so I stayed back at Cincinnati when Coach Fickle was initially hired. I think a couple guys came up right off the jump. I stayed through and coached the bowl game. As soon as we got back from Boston, I got a call from Coach Fickle. Hey, I'd like to bring you up here as an analyst and work with the offense, but also I need a guy to help us with special teams. And I was like I said earlier, I think if there was an opportunity up here, I wanted to take it. So it was kind of a no-brainer for me.
I know it was only for like a month or so, but just what was your duties as a quality control coach?
Really, I spent the majority of the day sitting in. It was kind of, Coach Longo, Coach Bignell, some of the guys that have been in the offense system, coaching the rest of us, teaching us, what the offense was. And I was still helping Gino when he was the tight ends coach, so I wanted to learn the terminology. And then in the evenings, myself, Coach Mitchell, Coach Fickle, we get together and, just go through some of the drill work that we had done, talk about, how are we going to call, sorry about that, how are we going to call things here, here at Wisconsin, is there terminology change, their scheme changes, special teams wise. So really that was it. Just a lot of computer work and a lot of video studying.
When you're out on the road recruiting, when you get that chance, what will your approach be? What's kind of the message that you want to impart now that you're at Wisconsin?
Yeah, to me, there's a lot of things that pull at student athletes right now when it comes to decision making. For me, the way I try and approach it is I'm just going to be as genuine as I can. I can't be anybody except who I am. And then obviously the combination of championship football expectations with elite academic experiences, I think is if you're a prospective student athlete and you're looking for that combination of things, I don't think that you need to look any further than Wisconsin. I think we're all well aware of that.
When spring is over, what are some of the things you absolutely want to know or have to know about your unit when spring goes down?
Yeah, I mean the offense is unique, particularly for where these guys have been. I want to know, there's a lot of guys that have different skill sets, right? We have to know what jobs certain guys can be proficient at in this league, number one, right? Now, we're not going to plug guys in where one guy's only in when we're running the football, one guy's only in when we're throwing the football. We're not going to give that kind of tendency to tell. We want to know what the different route concepts that certain guys that maybe are more inline type guys are, what they can be good at, what can we flex them out as, and then vice versa. The guys that are a little bit better on the perimeter, what can we put them in the core to do blocking wise? That's number one. And then number two, I know this sounds a little cliche, but I think the tight ends, I might be like some of these guys' fifth tight ends coach, right? I want them to feel as comfortable as they've ever been with me as their coach, and I want there to be as deep a connection within our room as possible, coming out of spring. So I think those two things, finding the jobs and just the connection, the relationship piece of the room, are the critical components coming out of spring.
I was going to say, when you have a situation with kids in a unit who have undergone so much change that way, What's harder, to get them to know the new offense from a new guy like you coming in, or to get them to trust you as a person?
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of both, right? Because we've all heard the old adage, they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, right? And for me, that's just an investment in time. That's spending time with them outside of being in the classroom as a unit, being on the football field, right? As a team, it's spending time outside of the meeting room, and getting to know them personally. What makes them tick? Why are they here? What brought them to Wisconsin? Why are they playing college football? Because there's a lot of different factors for different players. So I think that trust piece, and then also as you approach a classroom session, as you approach something out on the field, your organization and your efficiency, right? We don't want to waste their time. Everything we do, we want to be intentional. We want to make sure that they know that, hey, we've put a lot of thought and time into this, and that what we're telling you, what we're teaching, what we're coaching you to do is the right way to do it. We're going to do it at a really efficient pace.
Coach, what's kind of been the culture in the coaching movement? A lot of different coaches from a lot of different backgrounds, obviously, Martha and seeing all the different groups.
Yeah, I think it's been really neat. Obviously I've got some history with had some history on the offense side with Mike Brown. We coached together for 3 years. Obviously before Gino left, I was with him. Devin Spalding was actually, he was outgoing as a GA as I was coming in at Cincinnati, but we've gotten to know each other over the years. But what's been really neat as as a coach, um, you know, I just want to grow. I want to learn. I don't ever want to stop learning football and learning different ways to teach and coach and motivate. And these guys bring an entirely unique perspective that I've never been a part of before. Um, and they're great guys to get along with, easy to work with. So, more than anything, I've just enjoyed the time that we could spend, watch football and shoot the breeze and things like that.
What do you think you have with your tight end group? Maybe some of the guys. I don't know how much you've had a chance to study them, but
I've watched the games from last year. I think you've got a really physical presence in Hayden Rucci. Jack Eschenbach has done some good things out on the field. Obviously you've got a younger guy in Jack Pugh who's a big body that can move around. Um, we brought in Angel Toombs. We've got Riley Nowakowski over in our room now. JT Seagreaves I think his potential is through the roof. I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody. I don't mean to, but we've got a lot of guys that I think do a great job, and they work exceptionally hard. But I'm not ready to say where we're at with any of those guys right now.
Do you anticipate Clay Condit?
Yeah, Clay's a guy who was obviously highly productive last year. I leave all those decisions to the medical staff, but it sounds like his prognosis is good, and that maybe we can get him in some on-air situations towards the end of the spring, see his movement skills, and kind of just get him back in a football mindset. We're really excited about him.
Hey, I know Gino wasn't really around for too long, but just what's been the reaction in the recruiting world and the room about the kind of the change?
Yeah, within the room, they were, you don't want it to be this way, but this has happened to them before. A little bit old hat. So we have a lot of veteran guys in there that, our room never gets too high, gets too low from what I've observed so far, which I think is really neat. So they were excited and eager. And like I said, I had been in there some up to that point with Gino.
responsibility, or how are the special teams kind of divided?
Yeah, so Matt Mitchell's our special teams coordinator. Coach Fickle is highly involved in special teams. We have a guy who was actually a GA at Cincinnati with us. He came to us from the Giants, named Spencer Rimashevsky. He kind of took over that analyst role. And then from there, Coach Fickle will kind of be the point person on punt and kickoff. And then we'll have some other coaches that are the point people on the return units. But every coach outside of the quarterbacks, the O-line, and the D-line that aren't involved in special teams will be involved in the drill work or in some sort of preparation of those units.
Obviously, you're still getting to know Phil Longo's offense, but just what are some of the key traits things tight ends have to be able to do in his scheme?
They got to do everything. Just like any other kind of offense, they can't just be pros at blocking. They can't just be pros at running routes and catching the football. But to me, the thing that I think is going to be the most exciting, but also one of the more challenging things that we have to do to kind of rewire and retool what they do, is there's a lot of freedom in the offense. We're going to take what the defense gives us. And sometimes we might call the same concept twice, and they look a lot different. And just getting those guys to feel that freedom and be excited by it and play with some tempo and some energy, I think are kind of learning curves, but they're going to be really good for us as soon as we get over it.
You talked about the connections, relationships. I know it's early. I know it's still winter heading into spring, how much have you been able to sit down with the guys, or any particular examples of trying to build those connections early on now that you have this?
Yeah, just try and, to me, the best thing that's happened is that training table moved, and like, there's 2 meals over there. I try and sit with those guys. Down in the weight room, just, I try and work out in the morning. I know it's not super evident, but, the cheese up here has kind of got me a little bit. But nevertheless, just I try and be around them as much as I can outside of a football setting. I mean, obviously, every time they're in this building, they're doing something towards football, right? But just, if I can observe, I can pull them aside. If I can bring them up to the office, anything like that, just get to spend time with them. So nothing too drastic, but because they're pretty busy here with class and whatnot. But got to spend a good amount of time with them.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Okay,
much.
great,
Appreciate it.
thanks.